search of the 3 missing Montgomery College students continues in Frederick County.
And I got to play with your wand. It was great.
Definitely fun.
Keep going. Are you doing okay?
No, not really, but we're good. But it's Foreplay. Yes. Welcome, y'all. We have a special guest today.
Yeah, what's up, Ryan? I don't... dude, it's been a minute since I last talked to you, but I have to say, I don't know when. So we talked about 2 years, 4 years ago, when you were promoting Meow 2. And was Street Trash in the view already? Was that like something you were planning on doing?
It might have been just after. Yeah, it might have been. Yeah. Well, 2 years ago.
It was 4.
Oh no! So it wasn't even on the cards.
Oh, you have an accent. Where are you from, Ryan?
So originally, I'm from Liverpool.
Okay.
But so I grew up in Liverpool, but been in South Africa for the past 16, 17 years. So in Liverpool, we're called Scousers, and I'm a Scouse African now because I've been here for a long time. So I call myself a Scouse African.
South African slang is fucking awesome. I have a buddy who lives in Rustenburg. I don't know how far that is from you. I think that's pretty rural.
Probably, yeah.
But he tells me sometimes when I'm talking to him online some different slang and teaches me some South African stuff. And man, it's such a cool fucking language.
All right, well, fucking air some of it right now.
I don't know it. I don't remember it. But I remember old puss was one, and that's what you say to somebody when they're gonna fuck an old lady.
Old pussy? That's
old puss.
Oh, that dry old pussy is what you're talking about? Old puss. Okay.
Is that right, Ryan? Isn't that correct?
No, not really, no. It's like...
Yeah, he don't know what he's talking about. Don't mind Evan. He don't know what he's talking about.
What is that then? Enlighten us.
He don't really get new puss.
Like, puss is like the word, it's like... What can I say? It's like saying your mother's vagina, or like, but it's like the worst swear word that you can get in South Africa that will offend somebody, like calling somebody
what is it?
A cunt or something like that. You know?
Okay, fair. All right. I just misunderstood. I took it a little too literally, I think.
What was your meaning again?
I thought it was something to do with fucking an old lady. Like you were telling them they're gonna fuck an old lady or something. I don't know. I didn't really know the full context. I just remembered that one word, and I was like, oh, I think that's what it was. But
you were just using that just freely, weren't you?
I know.
Well, to be fair, I don't think I've ever actually used it in like actual conversation. It's only ever came up when I'm talking to my friends from South Africa. So.
It wasn't even just poos; it was opus. You said.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, he did. He sure did. Opus.
So is the word just poos?
Yeah. It's you know,
what the fuck was he saying?
In different countries, you have like obviously like different swear words that will mean more in that language than another language. Where another language would go, well, it's not. It does. You know, that's not that bad in our country. But if you say it in Afrikaans and say it, then it's a way more hardcore, very expressive insult.
Okay.
So naturally, it would be the first thing that a foreigner would learn. So that checks out.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
So Ryan, a little bit of background with us and your filmography. You know, I've seen everything you do. You're one of the most interesting filmmakers to follow right now.
Thanks, man.
I mean it. And I have to say, when I heard that you were doing Street Trash, which is like a personal favorite of mine, that's one of my like early movies that I saw that kind of, it changed the way I looked at movies, where it's like, oh, people like reject this thing because it offends them so much. Yet I unfortunately saw a lot of what I was doing when I was watching film in this movie, which was just like hanging out with like, I mean, just like poor people. We were working at a restaurant, drinking all the time. We were surrounded by bottles when I, bought this movie from a secondhand video store And it was just like, oh, I feel seen. But so, yeah, when I saw you sign on, go ahead.
I said seen and understood.
Dude, it's interesting how complicated the nuance of like this, like, I've heard a term called poverty porn. Have you ever heard that before?
No.
Poverty porn.
Yeah. Where it's kind of like,
Yeah,
so-
the poofs.
no, so I mean, it's the idea of it's kind of like you're exploiting poor culture for like highbrow film.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, that I learned that a few years ago, actually on the Overlook from the Randy Stat, Mr. Engineer, and it rang true. Like, I think a lot of people who make movies about like the ghetto or just like street life with children, they've never like been there. And I think there's a lot of nuance. Like, I mean, again, we're coming from San Francisco. So one of the most like cultural pillar stones and points of contention have been the homeless population out here in California. And a lot of people say, like, you know, like right now we have the Palisades fires. It's like those families aren't going to go live in a tent and start doing fentanyl now that they're actually homeless, which is fair. But also all the people in the tents doing fentanyl aren't terrible. And I think you managed to not only capture that like nuance that is in the original Street Trash, it's just not as apparent. And you almost turned it into kind of like an Amblin film, which is not an insult. I mean that in like the highest regard.
Yeah. The funny and cool thing about this was that our main gang is they're all nice people, but they're all drug addicts. They should be, normally they're the bad guys in movies, or but these are the heroes of the movie, but they're all drug addicts.
So when your film came out, I wasn't the first to watch it. Terrell was, and Terrell liked it.
Yeah,
And
I thought it was okay. Yeah.
But Terrell, you were
I'm really surprised. And you know what? Terrell actually liked it.
No, well, here's the thing. The original Street Trash, I don't think he will like it.
I never seen the original one. That's why I just went into this blind.
Yeah, I don't think
anything.
Terrell would like the original one either.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
It's interesting. It's split into like a 50-50. It's weird because before people have watched it who like the original film are against it. But then they hear that it's a loose sequel and then they're open to it.
Yeah.
And then they watch it and they actually really love it. 50% of just more, I would say more than 50% that love the original, watch this, see that it's a loose sequel and it's different and really enjoy it. And then there's the other side that might not enjoy it because they're still closed-minded about what the original is, and they don't know that it's a loose sequel, or the bits that they liked in the original film that's very like controversial in a sense of like the body getting and all that stuff. And obviously I don't have that in this film, and it is a different type of film, I guess, but it still has that flavor of Street Trash, and it still has that DNA of the original Street Trash. And we shot it on 35, so it is shot in film. It is in camera prosthetics. So I do think, and it is about homeless people. So we tick those boxes, have that DNA, have nods to the original, and obviously, have that multicolored goo that that goes back to the original. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that like Terrell that hasn't seen the original film and has never even heard of it. So, and that's why I've always had this as a loose sequel, but it's a loose sequel, but it can also be a standalone film that, you don't have to watch the original film, to watch this for it to make sense. It can be a standalone film and it's just a loose sequel. We mentioned the original 86, 87 movie in this film.
Yeah, I think it's a good sign that people like me who really hold that original one sacred kind of had a defensive reaction to your movie, because it means it was good. And I think people were worried that you were going to erase it. And that can happen. I think I'm never going to watch the original Nosferatu ever again. Now that Edgar's made one, I am tired of falling asleep through that movie, so it is erased from my brain. Your film, though, dude, it's so different from the original. Like, you're right. Like, there was a very like hard New York edge in there. You mentioned the scene where I remember one of the first Blu-rays I bought was Street Trash, and they had a behind-the-scene interview with her, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't tell the director that a similar thing actually happened to me."
Oh,
Yeah.
And when they filmed the movie, she said she went into full PTSD. So she's like, I wasn't acting at all. I was reliving that moment. But she also was like, I think it was great for the movie, which is like a weird conversation to have now.
Crazy.
Yeah. But, you know, I think we would have a different conversation if you didn't have complicated, not perfect leads. And I think because you were so true to that original source material and having complicated addict heroes, that you were able to kind of like, I'm trying to think of a nice way to put it, because cartoon sounds mean, but you really comic booked up your leads here. And I think it fucking worked fantastically.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the first thing when I was asked to do the film, to write and direct the film, and I was also a fan of the original Street Trash. I also grew up having that VHS or watching it, like, you know, early hours, late at night, you know, watching it on TV. So I was also that fan. So when they approached me, I knew what the film was straight away, and straight away I was like, this is a great opportunity to do something different, but in that same world. And my biggest thing, because the biggest thing about the original film to me is the prosthetics. Obviously, that's the big part of the original film. You know, there's not much story in the original, and you don't kind of know who is the lead guy, kind of, you know, and nobody's really likable. And I'm not dissing the movie at all. I enjoy the movie, and I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to copy it at all. It should be left alone. And that's why I wanted to do a film in the Street Trash world just later on. And that's why I made it a loose sequel. But, it, you know, it is what it is, and it shouldn't be touched, you know, in that way. That's the way I look at it. So for me, and the style that I want to do with my filmmaking, you know, I wanted to do something different straight away, but have that flavor and have that DNA. But the three important things was, one, I wanted to do the in-camera prosthetics. That was very important. I wanted to have strong characters that you like and enjoy and want to go on this journey with, and have a strong you know, narrative concept that you go on this journey. You know, that they were the most important things for me with this film, just to make it, you know, different than the last. But I love characters, so it's one of those where it's important to like characters and go on the journey and care for these characters. So when one of the characters that die in the movie, I'm not going to say who for spoilers, but when that person dies in the movie, that you feel so bad that you know, because you really like this character and you care for this character, and you didn't expect this guy to go so soon.
So the original film is like a New York urban fantasy, and it's very American. Like, we have like a Vietnam vet who's like kind of king. And, you know, these are like what I would imagine real dichotomies of homeless people might be. Like, oh yeah, we're all doing heroin, but that guy, you know, knows how to fight, so he kind of bullies everybody.
He's got like a Chevy bench seat throne.
Dude, so tight. And, you know, how did you take that world and make it like South African? Like, what in there is like unique to that country?
Well, to be honest, I think the important thing about filmmaking is to make something different. You know, with every project somebody does, you know, you want to make it, you know, you want to do your own thing and make it different, but at the same time, you want it to still be international or universal, that everybody can understand it and everybody can enjoy it. You know, so you don't isolate any audience. So South Africa, we don't make a lot of genre movies, but I know the films that I make, people will enjoy overseas. So really, it was looking at the original film and ticking certain boxes. Must have multicolored goo. Must be about homeless people.
Yeah.
It's these things, and then it's just obviously with the original, the booze was from the liquor store, and with this, it's just updating it. Instead of the liquor, it was the gas. Even though we still have some of those scenes with the bottle of booze there, but with the Viper, but at the same time, it's just doing it for a modern audience, and that's why, like, when it's mentioned in the movie, it's like, we've taken the Viper, the specimen from 1986, 1987, from the site on New York, and they've used that to create this gas and this drug to kill, to kill the homeless. So it was just really updating the story. But as soon as you have it in a different country, like Fried Barry, I can easily make a movie over here and just get everybody to do American accents and all that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of countries that do that. There's a lot of countries that do that, and they just sell it as an American film. You'll be surprised how many movies do that. And at one point, I even had the decision I had the opportunity to shoot it in New York, but for me as a filmmaker, I can stretch the budget and do bigger, better things here because of the connections that I have. And not only that, again, I could have made it American here, but at the same time, I wanted to put a different spin on it and make it South African and just have that South African flavor, because I think worldwide people are still getting to know what South Africa is. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that don't know. Like, if you say South Africa, they're either going to go, okay, District 9, Chappie, and maybe the Clint Eastwood movie that we made with Matt Damon, or Deanford, the band, and that's about it, really.
What about the king of South Africa, Elon Musk?
Yeah. Well, Elon Musk.
Not a fan?
If it's anything political, well, it's not that it was political, but I mean, everybody has their the views of.
Look at you.
I don't actually pay attention too much of fucking politics and going to Mars or whatever.
Ryan, I gotta tell you, man, I'm so proud of you, dude. Fried Barry was such a indie darling. Like, it was one of those movies where, as a horror fan, dude, yeah, it popped up and you're like, holy shit, people can make fresh shit. Like, we all know you can. Like, everybody can make something different, but Fried Barry really felt that way. And I'm curious how Street Trash came to you, and you must have been cognitive about how are you gonna have your own auteur effect play through this movie, and not, because I mean, honestly, the original and Fried Barry, you do have a pretty perfect style for it, almost too perfect, where it could start to feel just like plagiarism.
Yeah, it was funny because what originally happened when I was approached. So Fried Barry was on. Joe Bob's Last Drive-In, and a lot of people mentioned on Joe Bob's Last Drive-In on comments on Twitter and stuff that I would be a good fit to direct Street Trash. And I thought nothing of it. Loads of people were saying it, but I didn't think, I didn't think anything of it until the producers from the show messaged me and said, would you be interested in doing the film? We have the rights. And I was like, yeah, definitely. And then it didn't happen or anything for a while. And then we spoke again, and then I wrote the script, and then we waited and waited. So what, any film that gets made is like a miracle, that it even gets made or gets money for it. But it's that waiting game that, you wait and you don't think it's going to happen. And then all of a sudden it just happens. Cool. It was, so it was a cool process. And that's why I'm saying, after Fried Barry, you're like, oh, this is amazing. You're riding this wave, and everybody's watching the film, and everybody's talking about it. And then it gets to a point where it's like, okay, this is good. It did really well. And then you're like, oh shit, what do we do now? When am I going to make my next film? And then you realize, oh fuck, I don't know when I'm going to make my next film. And then, I'm pushing all these different avenues for all these different films, and you never know which one's going to come up. but it was just lucky that Street Trash came about, and eventually at one point we were going to do crowdfunding at one point, and then we didn't do crowdfunding, and then we just got the money, and then next thing we know, we were like, shit, we're going into pre-prod in 2 months' time, and then that was it, and then it happened. So it's crazy how any film that gets made, and you hear these stories though, as people say, we waited 10 years to get this movie made, or this or that, and it all depends on what script, who's got the money, who sees it, who's willing to invest. It's nuts. It's crazy.
So Fried Berry was a really impressive production. Like, I think your set design, whoever you have working on that, it comes through, and it's always so colorful. The saturation, like, I was shocked at the scale of Street Trash, though. Like you said, you shot this in 35 millimeter. You open with an insane chase scene. How many extras are in this fucking movie? Like, what was this production like?
It was well. You see, this film was the first. It was my first film, I guess, with a budget. Like a proper budget. So we had all the crew members, we had all the people that we needed. We had a shitload of extras on different days for certain fighting scene, action sequences and stuff like that. So it was very. Yeah, it was big, and it was so nice as a director coming on board after Fried Barry, coming on board and just having that support, having that, because when I did Fried Barry, there was a very small group of us making that movie, you know what I mean? And it took a year and a half, 28 days over a year and a half. So with this, to have a budget and to shoot 4.5 weeks straight, just doing the film was awesome. And even just turning up on the first day with, seeing all the trucks with all the gear and going, oh, fuck, this is like my first film. Really,
legit.
It was official. It was official.
Having a permit to actually be there or whatever. So, so it was insane. But it's great having that support. But I also look at stuff where there was nothing wrong with the way I made Fried Barry. I don't mind having
that movie was crazy.
Crew. Yeah, I don't mind having a super small crew. I think sometimes, every movie has more than one budget. The same movie has you can budget that film 12 different fucking ways. It just depends how you want to make it. Do you want to be really comfortable? Can you afford to be really, really comfortable? Are we eating really good food, or are we eating subs? Are we eating spaghetti? Are we? Do we have? How many? Do we have big action sequences? How can we cut it down? It's all those budget restraints and things to look at. And then sometimes it's just the way you budget a movie, and how and even with the budget that we had for Street Trash, I still stretch that a lot to make it a bigger, better movie, to show what I can do and what I'm capable of doing when it comes to the action sequences and stuff like that, just to make a bigger, better movie. So when I get a chance to do another movie, maybe they'll give me more money and I can again show what's possible, what can be done,
How was it shooting on 35 millimeter?
So I've shot on film before, but like 16, probably 16 years ago or some shit like that. I didn't shoot on 35, but I shot on 8mm and 16mm. But when the producers asked me, do you want to shoot on film? Straight away, I was like, yeah, 35, straight away. And they were like, cool. And then after that conversation, I was sitting there going, oh, fuck. Do I really want to shoot on film? And I'm thinking, we haven't even got a processing lab in South Africa. And I start thinking of all these things. And then I thought, maybe we can shoot it. What if the footage doesn't come out? Maybe we should shoot it digitally as well at the same time. And then, which is fucking stupid. But it's all those things, because the crazy thing about Street Trash, the way we shot it, was, one, we haven't got a processing lab in South Africa. We used to, but we don't have it anymore. So we would film for 3 days, send it away to the UK to be developed, and then they'll send a digital version back, which would be another 2 to 3 days. So after shooting for a week, just after a week, you get the footage back and you go, oh, this is what we shot. So it was that because back in the day they would have, or if you've got a fucking studio right there, you would have the dailies, so you can look at what you just shot. But because we were shooting on film and we didn't have that lab, every week was sending off. So when we got that first batch of footage back, we could really see what the hell we were making, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, this is really good. But I guess with the digital age and how we make movies now, it's just different and easier shooting digital. But I have to admit, it wasn't that hard. It wasn't as crazy as I would have thought to shoot on film. It was, like with anything, you get the right people to load the camera, the right DP to work that works on camera, on film cameras. You just get the right people, and then everything works out and everything's fine. So in that sense, what was better what was crazy was the discipline and the respect, just that the fact that we were shooting on film. And that was crazy because, when you're shooting digital, over there, somebody's making noises and somebody's talking. You're like, quiet, quiet, quiet. And you stop. We're rolling and we're quiet, and, it goes on. But when we were shooting on film, everybody just had this, everybody just kept quiet. Everybody brought their A game because they know that we just didn't want to burn through film. So the discipline was just super. Everybody was just bringing their A game and super strict. And, we rehearsed, and Maya had some funny outtakes of rehearsing, but we didn't film them. So when the actors came to shooting, there was they just fucking nailed it, and there was no mistakes. So it's funny. It's funny how that just changed and had that respect over digital, which I found really interesting.
Yeah, I've heard that so much from older filmmakers where it's like everybody understood. You get one or two tries, but with digital, everybody just is like, well, just do it again. Like we stay here all day.
Exactly.
It just belabors the whole fucking thing. Okay, now I know we can't keep you too long, but I gotta ask about the set design and how, because I've heard so many stories, especially for non-American productions, that there's just not a lot of garbage anywhere. So you hear for one of the Howling sequels, we had to mail trash from LA out there to help populate the set. And yours looks so vibrantly disgusting. I'm curious, how much painting, how much dirtying up the place do you have to do, especially given that location where our characters are hanging out?
Yeah, I think the cool thing about it was the same with Fry Barry. The cool thing, I had the same art director, Monica Rosie, on both productions. But also, what I do to help them is I pick really fucking great looking locations that's already grimy and fucking dirty already. So
Streets of South Africa doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah. The funny thing about South Africa is it's a really, really beautiful, a beautiful country, and I love Cape Town. It's Cape Town, especially. It's very beautiful. But if you don't know anything about South Africa and you've watched Fry Barry, you'll go, "Where the fuck is this?" Or remind me never to go to fucking South Africa because it looks fucking terrible. But I always pick the great looking locations. But just for example, the gang where they hang out in Street Trash, Monica just obviously dressed that whole. It was just an abandoned, room building with no roof. So she brought in a lot of trash and everything, and made it homey for them. But yeah, it's all about getting the right locations that already look cool. We just add to it. And it was the same, like I said, it was the same with Fry Barry. It's just finding these random locations where there's probably shit in the corner that somebody's taken shit. And somebody, to clean it up, somebody's just put bricks on top of the shit, or some wood just to hide it, or whatever. So it's I think it's all about finding those cool looking fucking locations that have a lot of character,
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you succeeded.
You're a very interesting
Oh,
filmmaker.
for sure.
I was first introduced to you from Fried Berry. Like, that movie was crazy. I actually really liked that movie. I don't like alien stuff, but he was getting in that opus and he was just all over the place and I was just loving it. And it was great. And then you go into Street Trash and I'm hearing all the stuff that you had to go through with that. So do you have any influences or are you just like that crazy in the head? Like, I want to know.
I love well, character wise, I love characters. I love like that's why I work with Gary Fry Barry guy. I mean, he's such a character. You know, he's not a trained actor, but he's got a great fucking look. You know, it's hard
Crazy
not to
look.
make him not look cool.
He looked
So
like that every day.
yeah, that was that was the funny thing when Fry Barry came out. They go, "Oh, the prosthetics," and I'm like, that's Gary. That's just Gary.
Oh wow, okay.
Well, he looks. And that's the thing, you know, he's not a trained actor, but he's got something. He's got that look. And, you know, I have to work with him hard to get what I want, but we get there and we get it done. And, you know, it was cool that, you know, I couldn't not cast Gary in Street Trash. You know what I mean? He was going to be in it no matter what.
Yeah.
And I enjoy working with him. We got a good friendship of working together. So it's awesome to work with him. And there was a lot of actors that was in Street Trash, like a lot, like probably like 90% of the actors that was in Fry Barry that's in Street Trash. And,
oh hell yeah!
And even our lead, Sean Cameron Michael, playing Ronald, he plays the exact same character in Fry Barry. And then you got Chef that also was in the Mental Institute in Fry Barry. He could be the same character. He's just got a nickname, Chef, in this. So it's all these things that's kind of like linked up to.
It's like a multiverse.
You know, yeah, so there's a lot of link up from the films, and even like Gary playing 2-Bit. You know, 2-Bit. It's obviously a nickname, so it could be Fry Barry just fucking later on. Right. And then it kind of makes sense because he's talking to a fucking alien as well. So that kind of...
Yeah, that little
that
thing.
was my question. Yeah, is you gave Gary a friend in this movie, and that's totally that's not present at all in the original. So where did you pull that? Like, what gave you that idea to get? And also, who's doing the voice for the blue guy?
Yeah, so I did the voice for Sokol.
That was you?
Yeah. So the cool thing with that, in the original draft, Sokol wasn't in it, and then I thought of the idea, and I just thought it was a great idea, but also a great support boat for Gary's character and for me to work a little bit more closely with Gary. And I just thought it was funny that, you know, this acid head, you know, has this friend that nobody can see, that he's always talking to himself, but only he can see him. And it's only after, you know, Ronald takes these drugs later on that he can actually see him. And it's actually like a fucking real thing that, you know, nobody can see him, but he's actually fucking legit. And he's actually a real, you know, a real dude.
Did you purposely color him like the toilet man from the first one? Because it's definitely the same
blue.
Oh no,
the same blue.
Is it?
I just loved that connection. Yeah, I loved that because it's a really similar color.
I think that's my mistake. My thing was,
I don't even think I'd call that a mistake. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it because basically what I wanted from that was if Fry Barry's dad was Danny DeVito and fucked, or should I say, if Fry Barry fucked an avatar and gave birth, that's what it would be. Fry Barry and Avatar would be this blue crackhead avatar sort of fucking alien. So
okay,
yeah,
he's guy. Like urinal cake colored.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. So influences.
Oh yeah!
Oh hell yeah!
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's him, and it's a nice frame too. Where'd you get that framed? That looks nice.
You trying to talk shop right now?
Anyways, Evan cut him off before he could say his influences, but it's fine. So before we go, Evan likes to cut people off.
So I'm a big fan of obviously massively 80s, you know, 80s movies. So I've always had 70s and 80s. That's the best fucking time for movies, man. The 80s. It's all the movies, growing up with all those amazing horror films and going into the video shop and picking those movies that are based on the poster. So, but I've always loved John Carpenter. I've always loved David Cronenberg and David Lynch, and so yeah, it's. I think I've probably had a lot of influence definitely with 80s cinema, and that's why in Fried Barry and there's a shit ton of Easter eggs and nods to like other movies, whether it's Escape from New York or Brazil or other 70s movies and stuff. There's a lot. Even the wardrobe of every character at the top of my head now. It's like Ronald was based on like Robin Williams and Fisher King. Two-Bit was Roger Rabbit with the red dungarees. One of the Rat Kings, both of the Rat Kings guys, Clayton and Clover, they were based on the Duke and what's his name, Kurt Russell's character in Escape from New York.
Hell yeah.
Snake.
Donna's character Alex, she was based off Ripley. Her costume was Ripley from Aliens.
Oh.
So if you check all the costumes, they're all like 80s, 70s, 80s, super early 90s, like character references of like wardrobe, like all of them.
Nice.
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever people draw like heavy inspiration from John Carpenter, now, like, I used to go around and say he was my favorite director, but now it's like everybody loves him and I'm a contrarian. So I just, I'll say somebody obscure again. But when I watched your film, I really felt it in the best way. Like, not because of music, not this like retro new wave stuff, but in the story. And it was funny to even think of Street Trash having a like poignant story where you kind of took those like end of the world narratives that John Carpenter did so great, like They Live, and you gave agency to people who in reality usually have none. And it's up to them to do something grand, which normally I don't like, but John Carpenter had a way of doing it. And you did it here in this film too. And I don't know, man. Ryan, I have to say, dude, I am so proud of the work you've done. It's incredible. Fried Barry totally feels like one of those movies that would come up, everybody likes it, and then 20 years later, you're like, what happened to that director? Like, there's so much there. But rarely do they follow it up.
Barry 25.
Hell yeah.
So, Ryan, before you go, could you give us a little sneak peek? Do you got anything else in the works? And tell us where they can follow you and get more updates and stuff on stuff like that. Twitter, a Ryan Kruger thing. Same with Instagram or RyanKruger.tv. I've got, we're in talks with a lot of other different projects at the moment. Finally releasing my experimentals online. But yeah, it's... I think if you haven't seen Street Trash yet, check Prime,
it out. Let me know, what you think. And it's a fun, there's a social commentary there in the background of the film. We were briefly chatting about it before, but it's the way the world is now and what we've been through with COVID and the government telling you what to do. There's all those things, and it is a layer in the film. I mean, we were talking about like the homeless. We've had. South Africa, I think it's everywhere. It's everywhere in the world now. I mean, the amount of homeless people in America and England and South Africa, it is crazy. It is crazy. And there is that social commentary for the movie. But at the same time, apart from that, it is, if people notice it, cool. And if people don't, that's fine. But it is one of those things where it is a fucking fun, gooey comedy, horror. And it's a melt movie, and I'm not trying to win fucking Oscars with it. It's just a fun, it's just a fun fucking movie to enjoy. Yeah. And I always say, Fried Barry and this type of film, it's always fun to watch with a group of people. I think it's a fun watch with an audience. I always say.
Well, I think you do a good job, of weaving those thoughtful kind of metatextual things into the story as well as keeping it fun, which is like I loved Fried Barry, and that was one of the things that like really spoke to me about it, is how you kind of, I don't know, you sort of boiled down the human experience into this wacky thing through the eyes of this alien, and I liked it. I thought it was really like profound, for lack of a better word.
Fried Barry will always be a very special film to me for being my first film, but also where I was like at the time where I was just fucking over just shooting, what I was shooting. I just wanted to make a feature film. So it was, and going through fucking depression before I made the film, it will always be like a very special film to me, Fried Barry. So, I mean, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I think for a director, I think it's a good first movie. You know what I mean? I think it's a good, first, strong, different movie. And I like all genres of film. There's a time and place for everything, just like music. And I do like the darker side of life of things. So, I'll always be open to doing different things, but I also want to make like just a straight up like horror, where there's no splinter dick jokes from Pinocchio or something. It's just having just a good, strong horror, whether it's a jump scare movie or whatever, but just something serious. But I always see humor in a lot of shit. Like I always see humor in a lot of shit. So sometimes I gotta go, I gotta stop and not say something fucking stupid or ridiculous in the moment of something. But it's just being open to doing other styles of movies, and because as a director you don't want to get boxed in. You know what I mean? You don't want to get boxed in and just have. Always people are gonna, it's like 20 years time, like you were saying now, it's like, oh yeah, what happened to that director? Oh, he's only 25, and it's like still, he's moved on from that. So it's, you want to make those different genres, and it's, there's the time and place for everything. Whether it's a Saturday and you just want to fucking chill the fuck out and watch like a popcorn movie, or you want something a bit more heavy or whatever, so it all kind of. Depends. But I love doing these films, and I think anybody that watches Street Trash, and I said this about Fried Barry, can see that it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to make this movie. For sure. It's me hanging out with all my mates, getting paid to do and having fun making these fucking movies, and it's fucking awesome. And then when it's over, you're like, oh shit, man, that went too quickly. And then it's me in post going through all that shit,
Nice. Well, I'm excited. I'm glad you came to hang out with us and chat with our crazy asses. So thank you, Ryan Kruger. And everyone listening, go watch Street Trash on Prime, Screenbox, or wherever y'all watch y'all movies. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Yeah, love you, Ryan. Thanks for hanging out, dude.
Thanks for coming and chill with us, man. Enjoyed it.
Cool.
Thanks for listening to Footage Foreplay. If you enjoy the show, please consider leaving a review, sharing it with a friend, or simply hitting like. These small gestures are a great free way to support this mayhem, and if you find some footage we should be fondling, email us at footageforeplay@gmail.com. Check back every Tuesday and Thursday for new episodes, and remember, don't skip the foreplay.